Hello, friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here, I share a brand new story every day. If you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's dive into today's story. The Winchester Mystery House. The Winchester Mystery House is one of the most famous haunted houses in America, drawing a significant following that sustains daily public tours. This historical landmark, located in San Jose, California, began its construction in 1883 and continued ceaselessly until the death of Sarah Winchester in 1922, spanning a remarkable 38 years and costing an estimated $5.5 million. The reason behind this extensive and costly endeavor? Sarah believed that ghosts instructed her to build it. Sarah Winchester, heiress to the Winchester rifle fortune, originally resided in New Haven, Connecticut. Before her fateful move to California, she experienced profound loss. First, her only child, Annie, and then her husband, John. Overwhelmed by grief, she sought solace and answers from a medium. According to the medium, her husband communicated from beyond the grave, revealing a curse that plagued the Winchester family due to the numerous lives claimed by the Winchester rifle. To escape this curse and avoid her own untimely demise, Sarah was advised to move west and construct a house for the restless spirits. However, there was a caveat. The construction must never cease. Should she halt the building process, the curse would claim her life. Determined to defy her fate, Sarah heeded the spectral guidance, left her home in New Haven, and ventured to California, where she purchased a vast parcel of land and commenced the construction of her sprawling Victorian mansion. Once settled in California, Sarah's life revolved around the continuous expansion of her home and her nightly seances. She communicated with her husband and other spirits, seeking their guidance on the house's design. To facilitate these communications, she added a bell tower, which she used to summon and dismiss the spirits each night. Central to her spiritual practices was a seance room, meticulously constructed in the middle of the house, where she would retreat alone to converse with the spirits. The eccentric architecture of the Winchester house often led many to question Sarah's mental stability. The house featured an array of bizarre and inexplicable design choices: doors joined to windows, countless staircases with precisely 13 steps leading to nowhere, doors opening to brick walls, double-layered skylights, double-back hallways, doors that dropped off to the outside, upside-down stair posts, and many other oddities. Sarah insisted these peculiarities were meant to confuse the vengeful spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles. Her obsession with the number 13 manifested throughout the house: staircases with 13 steps, the 13th bathroom containing 13 windows, 13 drain holes in the kitchen sink, most windows comprised of 13 panes of glass, 13 cupolas in the greenhouse, and walls with 13 panels. Modern-day accounts of the Winchester Mystery House's hauntings are numerous and chilling. Visitors and staff have reported a variety of paranormal phenomena, including pages turning on their own, organs playing autonomously, doors banging, disembodied voices, dancing spots of light, cold spots, and apparitions of fog-like figures. These spectral encounters continue to fuel the house's eerie legend, making it a perpetual source of fascination and fear. Sarah's unyielding commitment to her house, driven by her belief in the curse and her communications with the spirits, has left an indelible mark on the Winchester Mystery House. The labyrinthine structure stands as a testament to her fear, her grief, and her resolve to outwit the supernatural forces she believed threatened her. Today, the Winchester Mystery House remains a captivating and mysterious monument, drawing curious visitors eager to explore its haunted halls and perhaps experience a ghostly encounter of their own. The Larson haunting. Where do all the lonely people go? Where do I belong? These were the haunting words softly uttered to Rose Larson by a little boy dressed in white, roaming her upstairs hall. This boy wasn't one of her two children. His ghostly presence marked the beginning of a series of chilling encounters that would later be known as the Larson hauntings, a case that would baffle paranormal researchers for years. The poltergeist experiences began shortly after Joe Larson moved his wife and her two children from a previous marriage into his ancestral New England home in the late 1970s. Unbeknownst to the family, the home harbored a history of mystery and tragedy, which would unfold benignly at first, but soon escalate into horrifying occurrences that would eventually drive the Larsons from their home in desperate search of help. Their first otherworldly visitor was a little girl whose voice pierced through the silence one evening in May 1979, declaring to Rose, "Mama, Mama, this is Serena." Neither Joe nor Rose knew of any girl named Serena in the family's history, at least not then. What they soon discovered was that Serena's visits often preceded significant and usually dire events. Shortly after Serena's first appearance, their daughter Daisy went to the hospital for a routine tonsillectomy. The surgery took a dark turn when complications arose, causing Daisy's heart to stop, nearly claiming her life. The timing of Serena's visit and Daisy's near-death experience did not go unnoticed by the Larsons. Serena's presence also coincided with the stroke of Joe's grandmother. On the night the elderly woman passed away, Joe awoke to Serena's voice only to find his wife choking in her sleep. After he managed to wake Rose, she revealed that she had been dreaming of her ex-husband, strangling her. The theme of child apparitions persisted into 1981, despite a lull in activity from late 1979 to early 1981. A new spectral child appeared to Rose, a little boy dressed in white, wandering the upstairs hall. Unlike Serena, whose visits seemed ominous, the boy's presence was described by Rose as peaceful. This boy, witnessed by Joe as well, seemed to be searching for something. He would enter each bedroom and finally settle on the hallway floor, as if in pursuit of an unseen object. Intrigued, Joe later pulled up the floorboards and discovered a medallion of the Virgin Mary. Through family inquiries, the Larsons uncovered that Joe's father, Carlos, had two younger siblings who had died in the house, Serena, who passed away at the tender age of 5, and Giorgio, who died at 8. The realization that both children had met untimely deaths in the house and chose to haunt it was unsettling. Joe remembered hearing the boy's voice saying, "My oldest brother is the only one who can help me." This cryptic message hinted at unresolved mysteries and hidden traumas within the family's past. The true terror began with the boy's plea for help. Shortly afterward, objects in the house started moving unpredictably. Phones flew off hooks, doors slammed open and shut, and items were yanked from Rose's hands. The escalating disturbances prompted the Larsons to seek spiritual assistance. 2 priests were called to bless the house with prayers and holy oil. Although these rituals brought a temporary calm, the peace was short-lived. A new and malevolent entity soon descended upon the household, presenting itself as a hunchbacked figure with oversized feet, draped in a black cape. Despite initially proclaiming itself a minister of God, this entity brought only fury and intimidation. Objects flew through the air, bookcases moved, and physical attacks became frequent. The children were often struck, but Rose bore the brunt of the entity's wrath. On one occasion, she was hit by an open freezer door. On another, she was yanked from her bed, suspended in the air, and then dropped to the floor. One particularly terrifying night, Joe was called home from work to find their bed leaping several feet in the air, with Rose cowering in a corner clutching a crucifix. The final straw was a carving knife embedded in the kitchen table, a sinister warning that prompted the Larsons to flee their home once more in search of spiritual aid. The second exorcism performed seemed to succeed, as the hauntings ceased. Subsequently, the Psychical Research Foundation was invited to investigate the family's claims. Reflecting on the Larson hauntings, it is striking how rare it is for children to haunt a dwelling, let alone 2. Typically, hauntings are attributed to strong attachments to the physical world, sudden deaths, or unfinished business. In this case, the tragic deaths of Serena and Giorgio and the subsequent hauntings point to a deeper, unresolved mystery. The presence of the malevolent figure, potentially the children's father, adds a sinister layer to the tale, hinting at dark secrets hidden within the family's history. Despite the investigations and the spiritual interventions, the Larson hauntings remain an enigma, a haunting testament to the unresolved traumas and lingering spirits that defy the passage of time. The Bell Witch. Imagine being so vengeful that even death couldn't stop you from exacting revenge. That's exactly what Kate Batts had going for her. She was a spiteful old woman who believed she had been cheated in a land purchased by John Bell, and was hell-bent, literally, on tormenting him and his favorite 12-year-old daughter, Betsy. On Kate's deathbed, she vowed to haunt the Bell family for the wrongs she believed they had done to her. After her death, she made good on her promise. To the Bell family, it seemed that this ghost took no other pleasure than tormenting them incessantly. Kate pinched their noses, poked needles into them, threw kitchen objects about, screeched at them in her now notorious high-pitched voice, pulled hair, and was a presence that none of them could escape. Kate's wrath was particularly directed at John and his favorite daughter, Betsy. With John's wife and other children, she was sometimes heard crooning softly, saying something pleasant, or just ignoring them completely. John and Betsy were not so fortunate. Kate enjoyed mentally and physically torturing them with her shrieking voice or physically punishing antics. Gossip moved as quickly then as it does now, and this was a much talked about event in the small farming town of Adams, Tennessee. People were deeply fascinated by the rumors, and some even came from hundreds of miles away to visit the place of unrest. Some spectators were greeted with handshakes, some with shrieks, and some with a full dialogue of warning. The story became so popular that General Andrew Jackson, the future president of the United States, gathered a few friends to investigate the story himself. He and his cohorts wanted to either debunk or repel the feisty spirit of Kate Batts. Jackson and his men were in for a surprise, though. When their wagons stuck fast to an otherwise smooth and flat road, their jests of dealing with the witch came to a halt. No matter how they examined, pushed, cursed, or whipped the horses, their wagon would not move. It was said that Jackson, in a fit of frustration and resignation, declared, "By the eternal, boys, it is the witch." Much to the amazement of Jackson and his men, the legendary screech could be heard from a nearby bush that replied, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight." Moments later, the wagon and horses were suddenly free to move. No one present could account for the voice's owner or its whereabouts. Kate wasn't miserly in her haunting antics and bestowed upon Jackson and his men the same torturous treatment as she had John and his daughter Betsy. Jackson's bed covers were repeatedly yanked from his body, and his men were delivered the same pinches and pokes as the family were. Jackson and his men realized they were no match for the Bell Witch and hastily abandoned their adventure first thing in the morning. Ghosts never die, so it was not surprising that the haunting of Kate lasted the duration of John Bell's life. In fact, the ghost of Kate Batts was said to have been responsible for John's death. In October of 1830, John Bell was rumored to have suffered a stroke and taken ill. While he was bedridden, his family found him in a particularly bad state of stupor and position. Alarmed, his son ran to the medicine cabinet to fetch what he thought was his father's medicine. After administering it, the family heard the witch's glee as she victoriously declared she had poisoned John herself the night before with that vial, and this last dose was surely his undoing. True enough, it was. The contents were later examined by a doctor and found to be very poisonous. Kate was not satisfied with death alone. She sang in merriment at John's graveside and was still heard singing happily as the last person hastily left. Notable points. This story is popular enough to have spawned several recent movies, including The Blair Witch Project and An American Haunting. It is also noted as one of the very rare poltergeist cases that resulted in a man's death. The haunting of the Bell family extended far beyond mere physical torment. The entity known as Kate Batts displayed an uncanny intelligence and a terrifying ability to manipulate the physical world. She often predicted future events with alarming accuracy, further deepening the fear within the Bell household. Her predictions were not limited to doom and gloom. Sometimes she would prophesize mundane events, only to watch in delight as they unfolded exactly as she had foretold, instilling a sense of inevitability and helplessness in her victims. Betsy Bell, in particular, bore the brunt of Kate's supernatural rage. The young girl was often found with bruises and welts on her body, inflicted by an unseen hand. Her nights were filled with terror, as she was frequently dragged from her bed by an invisible force, her screams echoing through the house. The relentless harassment led to Betsy's physical and mental deterioration. She became withdrawn and fearful, her once bright spirit overshadowed by the malevolent presence that haunted her every waking moment. John Bell's health steadily declined under Kate's relentless assault. The once robust man became a shadow of his former self, plagued by mysterious ailments that no doctor could explain. His condition worsened with each passing day, and it was clear to everyone that Kate Batts was slowly but surely draining the life out of him. The family's attempts to seek help from doctors, ministers, and even other paranormal experts were all in vain. Kate's grip on John was unyielding, her hatred unwavering. As word of the haunting spread, the Bell home became a spectacle for the curious and the brave. Visitors arrived daily, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural or to hear Kate's infamous screeches. Some left terrified, while others remained skeptical, but none could deny the palpable tension that hung in the air. The Bell family's suffering became a public spectacle, adding to their distress. Among the many visitors was a local blacksmith named David Whitaker, who claimed to have experience dealing with malevolent spirits. Armed with his tools and a Bible, Whitaker spent several nights in the Bell home, determined to confront the witch. His presence initially seemed to agitate Kate, who responded with increased violence. Tools were flung across the room, and Whitaker himself was struck by unseen hands. Despite his best efforts, Whitaker too conceded defeat, leaving the Bells to their torment. One of the most chilling aspects of Kate's haunting was her ability to mimic the voices of the living. She often imitated the voices of John Bell and Betsy with eerie precision, calling out to other family members and luring them into traps. This talent for vocal mimicry added a new layer of terror, as the Bells could never be sure if they were speaking to each other or to the witch. The family's pets were not spared from Kate's wrath either. The Bells' loyal dog, Rufus, was often found whimpering and cowering in corners, his once fierce demeanor broken by the relentless haunting. On several occasions, the dog was seen being dragged across the floor by an unseen force, yelping in pain and fear. The livestock, too, exhibited strange behavior, refusing to eat and often breaking out of their pens in apparent panic. The community of Adams, Tennessee, was divided in its response to the Bell Witch. Some saw the Bell family as cursed and kept their distance, while others rallied around them, offering support and prayers. Local ministers conducted numerous exorcisms and prayer meetings, but each attempt to rid the family of their tormentor ended in failure. Kate's laughter would echo through the house during these rituals, mocking their efforts and reinforcing her dominance. As John Bell's condition worsened, Kate's taunting grew more personal and vicious. She would recount the details of his supposed transgressions in life, real or imagined, and mock his helplessness. Her vendetta extended beyond the grave, a relentless pursuit of vengeance that seemed to have no end. The strain on the Bell family was immense, and they lived in constant fear, knowing that any attempt to fight back would only provoke Kate further. The culmination of Kate's wrath came in the form of John Bell's death. On the night of his passing, the house was filled with an oppressive silence, broken only by Kate's chilling proclamation of her victory. The Bell family found John lifeless, his face contorted in pain. The vial of poison was the final blow, a testament to Kate's vow to see him destroyed. Her triumphant singing at his graveside was the ultimate act of defiance, a haunting reminder of the power she held over the family. In the aftermath of John Bell's death, the Bell family struggled to find peace. Betsy, traumatized by years of torment, eventually left Adams in search of a fresh start. The Bell Witch legend, however, continued to grow, cementing its place in American folklore. The story of Kate Batts and her vengeful spirit serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human spite and the terrifying possibility that some grudges can transcend even death itself. The Queen Mary haunting. The Queen Mary served for decades as both a World War II transport ship and a luxury liner. During the war, she was painted gray to blend into the wartime waters, earning her the nickname the Gray Ghost. Throughout her history, the Queen Mary carried seasick sailors, destitute stowaways, and wealthy vacationers. With such a diverse passenger list, it's not surprising she saw her share of deaths, nearly 50 in total. The ship's haunted reputation has led to some areas being closed to the public. However, for the paranormally curious, haunted tours of the cabins and halls are available. You can also stay overnight on the Queen Mary, but you may reconsider after reading this. One notable death involved a young seaman named John Henry, who lied about his age to secure a position on the Queen Mary. Tragically, he was crushed to death while trying to flee a fire. To this day, knocks and bright lights are reported around engine room 13, where he met his untimely end. The door to the engine room is sometimes reported to be hot to the touch, and tendrils of smoke are occasionally seen mixed with a ball of light. In the pool area, the ghost of a little girl who fell and broke her neck after sliding down a banister can be seen. She wanders the pool area and nursery looking for her doll or mother. She is not alone, as two other women who died in the pool area in the 1930s and 1960s are also seen periodically. War brought many atrocities, including a cook who was stuffed into an oven and burned alive by troops who disliked his meals. His screams still echo through the ship. There is also a chilling story of a visitor who paid a steward to find a willing female passenger to keep him company for the night. In the morning, the steward found the female companion's corpse, but the male guest, his registration information, and his luggage were nowhere to be found. He simply vanished, leaving only a trail of blood and rumors. The Queen Mary is home to 49 deaths, but she was also surrounded by death. In an attempt to avoid enemy ships, she collided with her companion ship, nearly cutting it in half. She was forced to leave 300 survivors in the water, where they were either eaten by sharks or drowned. It's reported that mysterious pounding on the side of the Queen Mary is the sound of those men trying to signal for help. Peter James, the in-house psychic, claims to have communicated with over 150 separate ghosts on the ship. He gives bi-monthly ghost tours and has made numerous contacts with various spirits, including those mentioned above. Given the sheer number and nature of the deaths, it's plausible. The Queen Mary is surely one of the most haunted places in modern America. Devil's Island hauntings. Devil's Island, a notorious place for wrongdoers, gangsters, and ghosts. This infamous prison has long been rumored to be haunted by the souls of those who perished within its walls. With a history steeped in misery, confinement, and fear, it's no wonder that tales of ghostly activity abound. According to Native American legend, the island was an energy portal, allowing evil spirits to enter our world. This could explain the shadow, an entity with glowing eyes witnessed by both staff and inmates. Reports of ghostly figures, disembodied screams, banging metal doors, putrid smells, and sobbing are common. Death was no stranger to Devil's Island. The first reported fatalities occurred in 1857 when two workers, Daniel Pewter and Jacob Unger, were killed in a landslide while excavating between the wharf and the guardhouse. Over the years, the prison saw fatal confrontations between inmates, brutal guard beatings, and numerous failed escape attempts. For many, Devil's Island was the last stop before entering hell, which is why it is sometimes referred to as Hell's Gate. One particularly chilling event took place in the isolation block, known as the Pit, or the Dark Cells. This area was located on the bottom floor of the prison in cell block E, reserved for inmates who broke the most severe rules. Prisoners were stripped of their clothes and confined to a cold, dark cell with only a sink, a toilet, and a small light. They were given a mattress only at night, which was promptly removed in the morning to ensure continual discomfort and punishment. In the 1940s, guards reported that a ghostly figure from the 1800s haunted the block. The apparition was seen on several occasions, and prisoners claimed they were attacked by a man with glowing eyes. Since the pit was an isolation chamber, guards often dismissed these claims as hallucinations. One evening, an inmate screamed throughout the night that he was being attacked by the glowing-eyed figure. The guards, numb to such outbursts, ignored his pleas. When the inmate finally fell silent, the guards found him dead in the morning. A horrible grimace marred his face, and handprints were visible around his throat. An examination determined that these marks were not self-inflicted. This unfortunate inmate, whether killed by the ghost or an irate guard, became one of Devil's Island's many ghosts. He was reportedly seen in a lineup with other inmates, only to vanish in front of stunned onlookers. Numerous psychics have reported cold spots, sudden emotional outbursts, apparitions claiming abuse, vibrations, and a myriad of other ghostly phenomena. There are few places on the island where one cannot sense otherworldly energies, including the hospital, the warden's house, cell blocks C and D, the lighthouse, and the therapy and utility rooms. The hospital, in particular, is a hotbed of paranormal activity. Many inmates died there under mysterious circumstances, and their restless spirits are said to wander the halls. Visitors have reported hearing the faint sounds of medical instruments clinking and the agonized moans of the sick and dying. The warden's house is another area rife with ghostly encounters. The warden, known for his brutal and unforgiving nature, reportedly met a violent end at the hands of an inmate. His ghost is often seen pacing the halls, a stern expression etched on his spectral face. Some claim to have felt a cold, oppressive presence in his former office, as if the warden is still overseeing the prison from beyond the grave. Cell blocks C and D are notorious for their paranormal activity. Inmates who suffered brutal beatings and torture are said to linger in these areas, their anguished spirits replaying their final moments. Visitors have reported hearing the clanging of cell doors, desperate cries for help, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. One particularly harrowing story involves an inmate named Samuel Blackwood, who was beaten to death by guards in cell block D. His ghost is often seen standing in his old cell, his eyes filled with sorrow and rage. The lighthouse, once a beacon of hope for sailors, is now a site of eerie encounters. The lighthouse keeper, who mysteriously vanished one stormy night, is said to haunt the tower. His ghostly figure is often seen at the top of the lighthouse, staring out to sea as if waiting for something. Some have reported hearing his footsteps echoing up and down the spiral staircase, even when the lighthouse is empty. The therapy and utility rooms, where inmates were subjected to cruel and inhumane treatments, are also sites of intense paranormal activity. The spirits of those who suffered and died in these rooms are said to linger, their torment and anguish palpable. Visitors have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature, hearing the faint sounds of whispered conversations, and seeing shadowy figures moving in the corners of their vision. Despite its dark history, Devil's Island continues to fascinate and draw visitors from around the world. Many come seeking a glimpse of the supernatural, hoping to encounter one of the island's many ghosts. Whether it's the tragic tale of the inmate in the pit, the stern warden patrolling his house, or the sorrowful lighthouse keeper, the stories of Devil's Island's haunted past serve as a chilling reminder of the suffering that took place within its walls. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share the video. See you next time.